So hello to everyone who's joining today and welcome to today's community webinar. Today we're really lucky to be joined by Brendan, an e-learning consultant at the Met Office, and Joey, the Managing Director at Catalyst IT EU, and also my colleague Iris from Totara. And today we're really lucky because we're going to go behind the scenes of the Met Office's Totara site. During the webinar today, you're really welcome to ask questions to both Brendan and Joey. And you can do this on the chat or in the Q&A function. And Iris and I will read those out so that everyone in the webinar can hear those questions. We're also recording this webinar, and it's available on the Totara community in the webinars on demand section there. And if you're not already a member of the Totara community, it's free to sign up. You can do that at totara.community. We regularly host webinars, and you can access a huge range of training to help you with your Totara site through our academy. So if you do have any questions or follow-up questions after the webinar, you can also post those in our Totara community.
Excellent. Brendan, over to you. I'm sure most people in the UK have heard from the Met Office before, of course, but for those who haven't, could you please give us an overview of what the Met Office does and what do you do at the Met Office?
Meteorological service for the UK, providing critical weather services and world-leading climate science. Our mission statement is to help people to make better decisions to stay safe and thrive. So in practice, that means that we are the weather service and climate science service for the UK, for UK government. So those in the UK may be familiar of us through our weather broadcast, our broadcast meteorology that we do, our Hadley Centre, which does our climate science. We're about 2,000 staff in total, a lot of us based down here in the southwest of the UK in Exeter, but we've got staff all over the UK and all over the world as well, gathering in our essential meteorological data, climate data, which then processed, put out into products, our forecast products, which will be familiar to people, and maybe some other products that may not be so familiar to people, related to aviation forecasting, aviation meteorology. We provide products to industry and to defence and to other international services around the world. So it's kind of a broad sort of discipline of what we do. And we have about 14 separate professions in the office to support that. That's not just meteorologists and scientists. We have a huge IT team and a lot of the other professions that you may find in similar medium-sized organisations like ours, project managers, finance, stuff like that. And we also have the team that I sit in, which is the people development team. And we're about 30 staff, and we look after all of the learning and development for the whole of the Met Office. So not just our operational meteorology training, although that's a core part of what we do, our meteorology and our science, but also all of the training that we do corporately. We have education outreach where we work with schools across the UK, and we also deliver training internationally to other national meteorological services. So that's kind of the gist of it.
So originally, Brendan, why did the Met Office decide to invest in an LMS? So what were the challenges that the organisation was facing?
Yeah, so if we think back 4 years ago to 2017, the picture for the Met Office then was we were running 3 separate LMSs. We had 3 separate LMSs hosted in-house. One was our HR LMS. We had 2 for the people development team. One was internally facing for our staff. One was externally facing for our external customers, our students that we taught, who staff. It was a complex picture. There was a lot of duplication of effort and not much economy of scale going on. And we were kind of had reached a point where we couldn't really go any further as an organisation. So we decided at that point to sort of go outside of the organisation, try and get a single portal for our learning, one system to be running all of our learning. It was super important that people could learn from anywhere. So that's staff and our external customers. And we were moving towards a more blended learning delivery model for our training. Up to that point, it was very much bricks and mortar, a lot of in classroom, not much support beyond the classroom, not much extending our reach. And given that we had staff all around the world, that meant a lot of travel time and time away from the job for our staff. So we were trying to move to a more blended learning model, and we were looking for an LMS that would allow us to do that whilst also supporting our fairly unique blend of training that we deliver. We have some courses that are kind of university equivalent. Our flagship forecaster course, the Operational Meteorology Foundation course, is 20 weeks, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, one cohort where we take university graduates and get them into the operational environment as meteorologists. So that's very academic type course, but we also have your, if you can say, typical corporate training, which is much shorter form, might be repeated certifications, that sort of thing. We wanted to integrate with corporate systems. We had to have strong reporting out of it, and it had to be cost effective. So it was quite a detailed brief. We knew exactly what we wanted, and we were fairly confident that Totara would be the solution for it. We had experience using Totara before, and we'd used similar systems. We were quite keen to go with open source if possible. So that was the challenge. Yeah.
So who did you go? Well, as we can see, you went with your brief to Catalyst, of course, but how did you come across Catalyst, and why did you choose to go with them as your Totara partner?
Yeah. Well, we'd had a relationship with Catalyst since around 2014 to 2015. I don't know, Joey would know probably better than me. When we had an issue, well, not an issue, we had a problem we wanted to solve technically at the time, where we were trying to teach our operational meteorologists in a way which was authentic to the job that they would end up doing. So a big part of the operational meteorology job when you're out forecasting somewhere is making decisions under pressure. So under time pressure and under consequence pressure. So we were looking for a way to simulate that type of activity. It had been done in the classroom before with what they called simulation sessions, where they would kind of drip feed information and data to the students about an unfolding scenario that would be like a typical scenario for them when they were on the bench doing their work. And then they would get them to make decisions as the day unfolded. And that would be done under a kind of accelerated time frame. So they might squeeze a 8-hour shift into a 2-hour session in the classroom and try and replicate some of that pressure. So we really wanted to be able to do that online and do that in an easy way. And we knew Catalyst anyway, because we were licensing some software from them. We asked them if they could do it, and they built us a really great plugin for at the time the Moodle LMS, which we were running in-house. And we were really, really impressed with the way that they did that. It was a completely unique product. They were working with quite a broad stakeholder base. It was part of some international development work that we were doing in collaboration with the South African Weather Service to help train their staff as well. So they ran some really great agile project to work with all those stakeholders and get us in quite a quick timeline to a really good product that worked, and we built on that subsequent to that. So when it came to tendering, we had them in mind, and luckily they were on the government marketplace and came out on top when we tendered. They clearly had the knowledge for the software we wanted to go with, Totara. They had proven experience working in the public sector field as well. All of this counted towards them scoring really highly during the tender process. Yeah.
Thanks, Brendan. Is there anything you'd like to say about that, Jerry?
No, mostly the partnership we've shared with Met Office does go way back before our Totara implementation. and yeah, we're particularly proud being in a house that does deliver, a provider that does deliver custom solution as well as out of the box, and has kind of built our entire business on that since day dot. The first challenge that that Brendan describes here was really exciting, and we're very sort of proud to have delivered it. Actually, we've shown it off a lot, and that went into a platform that used to be run locally at Met Office. And then, not only did we kind of win the tender, but we've helped really sort of educate and train and deliver sort of best practice guidance on how to get the most out of Totara once it was implemented as well, which has been, a great part of our partnership moving into the future.
Great, thanks, Jerry. So I've been lucky enough to have a look behind the scenes of your site, Brendan and Jerry. And I wonder if you'd be able to share some of that with us today, Brendan, if you could show the rest of the audience of the webinar what the Met Office site looks like and how you're using it at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Let me just bring this across. Let me know if you can see this. Hopefully you can when it comes across.
Okay, that worked perfectly without any glitches.
Right, brilliant. Everyone keep their fingers crossed.
Okay.
So this is our Totara that Catalyst helped deliver for us back in 2018. We've been running it since May 2018. We call it the Learning Portal. And as you can see from the login screen, it serves both the staff and the customers. Catalyst did some custom work for us in terms of the authentication for staff. So as I'm logged on to my work machine, I can get straight in by clicking on the staff login button. That takes me in, pulls down my details from Active Directory, which is what we use here at the Met Office. So it uses Active Directory Federated Services and the SAML2 plugin there. Let's jump me straight to the general data protection regulation page, which is probably not what we want. So our home page, and I'll zoom in a little bit there so that people can see it better. We use dashboards in Totara. So we're looking at the standard dashboard here for staff. If I'd logged in as an external customer, I'd get a different dashboard. If I logged in as a line manager of someone, if I had a team of people and I was a line manager, I'd have the option to see my dashboard or my manager's dashboard, which rolls up a picture of the learning activity of my staff. But I'm logged in under my personal account here. So you can see we make use of Totara certifications for our mandatory training. Catalyst have produced a customized red, amber, green RAG status block for us for the dashboards, which lets us know that I'm doing okay in most of my mandatory training that I'm assigned to here. I've got some quality and diversity refresher training coming up, and I'm overdue on my GDPR training. So you caught me there when we logged in. That was the last thing I was looking at in there. It also gives us some detail here about our upcoming certifications. That was a big part of what we wanted to do when I talked about how we had multiple systems before. One of our big bugbears was that the mandatory training people did sat on different systems. We wanted to bring it under one roof, make it really quick and easy to know what people needed to do when. So we instigated that, and we used the notifications that come along with certifications in there as well. Other than that, we have my current learning block. We're on Totara 13 now, so we get some really great tiles, which gives us some images and course progress information under that block, which has been really great. We just moved to that. And you can see I'm logged into quite a few courses that I haven't finished yet, so I could show off some of these here today. One great one, going back to the simulation activity that Catalyst did for us a few years ago. A good course to look at for that is the St. Helena South Atlantic course that we run. So for those who know, St. Helena is an island right in the middle of the South Atlantic, kind of in the middle of nowhere. Just recently it got a very small airport. It's got a runway there, but planes land and take off from there. So we have staff out there doing dedicated forecasting for that aviation forecasting. And one of our issues was usually you're only having one or two staff members going out there. They're often deployed out there at quite short notice, and and on rotation. So how do you go about training forecaster to forecast for St. Helena? Didn't really make sense to try and get them into the classroom because there wasn't enough people, didn't have enough time to turn it around, and often they weren't Exeter based. So one of our great subject matter experts and trainers put together this course for us using Totara. For those who aren't familiar with Totara, we're looking at a course page here, which is made up of different sections. Within the sections, you can have resources and activities. And typically our subject matter experts, trainers and associate trainers will have a certain amount of experience of doing this. We'll spend a little bit of time with them in our technology enhanced learning team, but then they're enabled to put the content together themselves, and they find it a really, really great tool for doing that. There's quite a low technical barrier to using Totara. And we also have H5P for those who are familiar with H5P. We have the H5P plugin installed and supported for us by Catalyst, which gives our trainers and subject matter experts access to an external library of content types, learning content types, that they're able to pull down and create right on the Totara course page. So the first activity here actually is an example of that that our trainer has put together. It'll probably take a little time to load because it includes some high-res images. So if you bear with for a couple of seconds, that should load down. But we really recommend the H5P plugin. It's a great way of extending the functionality of Totara. They're adding to it all the time. I believe they run it on an open source basis as well. I think there's over 20 maybe content types that you can have access to. The drag and drop one we were looking at is an example of one of those content types. And above here, eventually it loaded, is I think it's called the Agamotto content type, and it allows you to do sequential images and scroll through them. Super useful for our guys because they do a lot of image comparison. So you can imagine you'd have some charts there and be comparing the charts. Found the H5P really good and really, really useful for our trainers. And again, with that low technical barrier. So once you find your way around a course page, a Totara course page, it's really simple to add in things like that. And that's been really important for our blended learning model because we've got hundreds of courses and there's only so many of us in the TEL team. It was really important that our subject matter experts were able to do that. And so in this case, they put together really quite a long course. I think it's maybe 2 to 3 hours that a student is supposed to go through here. And it includes one of our METSIM meteorology simulation activities that I was talking about and Joey was talking about earlier. And they've been really useful for us. Again, this can all be created within Totara. It was a custom plugin that was developed for us that we shared with South African Weather Service. So the whole idea is that you're set up with a fairly lifelike real-world scenario as a student. Then you start your simulation, and you have a clock here where your simulated day at work is progressing. As the clock goes round, you're given access to new information. In our case, most of that new information is like meteorological data, right? So it might be satellite imagery like we're going to look at here. It might be observation data, that sort of thing. And the whole thing is, especially with the satellite imagery and things like that, the situation progresses as you're a meteorologist on the bench. So as the day progresses, you get new data coming in. What we're looking at here is the day RGB, but it's only 4 in the morning, so there's not much to look at for a day RGB. We may see more if we go on the night RGB, so that's a different satellite that's looking in. Instead of using the visual spectrum, it's using a different spectrum that can see at night when there's no sunlight. And you can see here we've got data going up to 4 o'clock in the simulation, but if we jump ahead to say 8 o'clock in the morning, it's going to refresh for us. We're getting new data in, and then as the simulation goes on, the trainer is able to build in tasks for the student, which appear on the left hand side here. So it's great. We've had some really, really good feedback on it. they're great because once you've built a really effective one, they can often be used in different situations as a learner as well. So we've found them to be really, really effective, and it's pretty unique. We don't think there's anything quite like this out there. So we were super happy with the work that Catalyst did for us. So yeah, we have that sort of classic CPD activity for our operational meteorology profession. We also have a lot of corporate training in here as well, which is more applicable no matter which profession you're in. So over and above our mandatory training, we have stuff around personal effectiveness, stuff around mental health. We've got in our course catalogue, I think, and not all of these are live, but I think we've got something ridiculous like 600 separate courses sitting in there at the moment. Some of those are legacy, but a lot of those are live. We have a lot of SCORM content, which we bring down, which we find super easy to put in place. We have a separate learning provider for those. And we make use of the enhanced catalogue in Totara, which we love. You know, it looks really great. You can get extra information out to your learners before they sign up to something. And we have pretty much since this time last year, maybe 18 months actually, been making a lot more use of the seminar management functionality in Totara as well. So we use seminar direct enrollment. All of our staff book onto their training directly through here, whether that's e-learning, blended learning, or fully face-to-face, obviously delivered remotely at the moment. That's been a super benefit for us as well in terms of the blended learning, because they're signing up to the course in the same system, they get access to their content in the same system, they report on their learning activity. So that's been really great too. We have some external training, like I say, we do some collaboration with the Mountain Training Association. We've run some courses or modules on courses on behalf of the University of Reading. We're about to launch some e-learning for the general public actually, but for people who work in decision making out in the public sector and industry, related to one of our products, UKCP, which is the UK Climate Projections product. And that's a big suite of data that gives you our climate projections for the UK and their effects locally and in the regions over huge timescales and short form timescales. And so we put some training together for users of that. So people who are going to be accessing that data, how can they make best use of it? And that's something we put together. We built in-house using an authoring tool. It's SCORM based, but it's going to go out to the general public to be able to sign up to. And kind of for that reason, it was super important we had a scalable system that could handle, you know, as many user accounts and as much access as possible. So Catalyst have been really great in terms of that and being able to load test for us when we brought it in a few years ago. Hopefully that'll load quite quickly.
Looks like using the Adapt authoring tool there, Brendan, as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we get that from a supplier, access to it, and we use it for building stuff in-house. We don't subscribe to a catalogue of training for that, but we actually use Go1 as our main content catalogue. I should probably talk about that actually, although this isn't Go1 content. The Go1 catalogue is brilliant because it's got direct integration into Totara. So it gives you access to something ridiculous like 19,000 separate pieces of learning. So, you know, from long courses to short courses to bite-sized pieces, and it's completely integrated. So if we want to add one of those to our Totara course catalogue, we can do it directly through Totara. Just gets added straight in. I recommend looking at Go1 if people haven't. That's really great. But yeah, this is using Adapt, so it's quite a big piece of training. It's not actually launched yet. We're about to launch it along with our climate science guys. But there was a lot of stakeholders involved, so it was a big learning design piece. We ran a lot of workshops and stuff like that, which is another thing that we do in our team. But yeah, we were really happy with the Adapt framework. It gives a really nice presentation for the content, and it's got that adaptability when it comes to the devices as well, which is one of the requirements for the project. So alongside our Totara, working great on mobile devices in terms of its responsiveness, which Catalyst did for us with the theme. You know, most of our training is responsive as well. So if we shrink that down, you can see it presents really nicely on a small screen too there. Yeah. So that's probably it in terms of showing off what we've got going on, unless, is there anything else you guys would like to see?
I think that's great at the moment, but maybe, sorry, Iris, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, no worries. Actually, there was a question from the audience, wasn't there? I believe Jennifer in the audience was asking which version of Totara are you on? I believe you mentioned it briefly, and whether you're using multi-tenancy to separate the internal staff and the customers, or how are you using that? How are you doing that basically?
Yeah, great question. So we're on Totara 13, the latest version of Totara 13. We stepped up from 12 this year, and we get a major point upgrade each year as part of our contract with Catalyst. So we're excited to move to 14. But yeah, at the moment we're on 13, and I'm really happy with the improvements that came with it, actually, especially around the seminar management, which was a big one for us. And we don't use multi-tenancy. So the way we deal with our staff and our customers is we have audience-based visibility set on site-wide, and we distinguish between our staff and our customers using some dynamic audience rules. So our Totara is linked to our HR information management system. So it knows that you're a staff member and gets certain information about the fact that you're a staff member. We use that to create our audience for staff. Everyone else goes in the other bucket. They get a completely different view. So they tend to only see the training that they are enrolled on. They have a big stripped back course catalog and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's how we do that.
Thank you, Brendan. Very useful to know. So last year was quite a strange year for organizations all over the world, of course. How did you have to adapt for the pandemic? You know, how did you adapt?
Yeah. I've got a slide for that actually. So. Yeah. So yeah, COVID-19 obviously hit for everyone around the world, and I'm sure very similar to all the people on the call. We were forced very quickly to change the way that we operated. And although we had a blended learning model, still the majority of our big training was done in the classroom. So we had to move completely online with that. And our team did amazingly well. We did not strip back the training that we delivered. We moved directly into delivering remote. We use Teams, Microsoft Teams, for the remote delivery of our live sessions. And we were really well placed, although I probably would say this working in the team, but we were really well placed with our Totara to be able to move to that as well. So we used the seminar direct enrollment and seminar management tool for all of our courses. Quite quickly we were able to spin up to doing that. That gave us a really great advantage from our learners' point of view, that once they booked onto a piece of training, they could immediately get their course page, which would have details around, okay, here's your team sessions, here's your supporting material, here are the online activities from a blended learning point of view that you're going to be able to do in your own time asynchronously. And for the synchronous stuff, here's where you are, here's where you need to be today in terms of the Teams meeting that you need to join. So it was really great. I've already spoken a little bit about our rapid authoring tools in terms of how easy it is for our subject matter experts to use Totara to pull together their activities, and H5P as well. So again, our team was really brilliant. They were all hands to the pump, but producing some really great supporting online materials so that our students were spending less time in front of the video camera and more time at their own pace working through materials, which was really fantastic. we saw a big spike. Obviously, I'm sure many people did in use of their LMS, but it was nice for us. It's continued a trend that we've had in terms of doubling our usage year on year, which we've done since 2018. So we now get kind of 300% of the active engagement that we got back in 2018, which is really nice. So happy to say that we were able to respond to the pandemic, and then obviously as a lot of people are, I think we're into a hybrid delivery model now. It's the new normal. We've done things that maybe we would have thought too difficult to try before, and it turned out we could do them. So it's quite an exciting time. Our team was really able to respond, and having Catalyst on hand to work quickly with us in terms of rolling out the seminar direct enrollments, getting a greater integration into our HR systems so that we could pre-assign training to people and stuff like that was super helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, so that hybrid model is sort of the new normal now, isn't it?
It is. I mean, we were looking to do it where appropriate before, because like I say, we're so geographically dispersed and things like that. But it's there's all sorts of things that come into play in terms of delivering it. In terms of having a learner first experience, it's always great if learners have access to stuff they can do in their own time from a learning point of view. And we're really pushing towards our net zero goals as an organisation and as a country, and some of the hybrid delivery models help in terms of that. If we're not flying people around the country or around the world to attend training, that's great from our net zero point of view.
Great, thanks, Brendan. And how are your learners responding to the site? Have you had any feedback from people within the organisation?
We have, yeah, we have. I mean, we get regular feedback. We do course evaluations, which I'm sure a lot of people do. Every now and again, you get a surprise bit of feedback, which is really nice, and they're the ones that you hold on to, ones that kind of come out of the left field. We've got actually a quote in here from, I've kept them anonymous because I wasn't able to secure agreement to use their name, but they were one of our students on one of our external courses, which is for people who work on oil rigs or offshore platforms, and people out there who need to do weather observations to check whether it's going to be safe for a helicopter to land, that sort of thing. So we run a certificated piece of training for that industry, which they have to complete every couple of years in order to continue in their role. And although we do course evaluation feedback, this was separate feedback given to one of our trainers who were really pleased with what our guys were able to pull together in terms of the online training. So it made really great use of the quiz functionality that was in Totara. It had some SCORM going on in there as well. And it was a nice piece of feedback as well. I think I've got a quote in here from my boss to the corporate learning and development manager at the Met Office, just about our relationship with Catalyst, how pleased we've been to work with them, how much of a help they've been actually in terms of helping us configure and reconfigure what we're putting out there for our team. It's meant we've been able to be super responsive for the wider team in the office.
Very good. Anything you want to say about that, Joey? Some lovely words there.
No, thank you very much, Brendan. It's a great partnership from our side as well. Although I don't get to come to Exeter as much as I would like to in the last couple of years, and kind of cement it with some celebration. But not only do you adopt the platform and utilize it, but you actually push the edges of it and you push the boundaries of it, and you come up with cool ideas and things that would make it better, and you deliver on them. And actually, we're already talking about one or two of the little tweaks that you showed in your talk, possibly going back to Totara for the benefit of all as well, which is for Catalyst what it's all about, being that open source is kind of what we live and breathe. If we can deliver a solution for somebody and it doesn't deliver some huge level of competitive advantage or IP as it might be deemed, then why not let's share it back and have everyone benefit from it. And Met Office really do that, both in your community of Met organizations where you share stuff, but actually in this case back to the total community, we hope. So really, thank you.
Yeah, thank you from us too. Really Really appreciate that. I would love to know what have been some of the main results. Great, they're already there for the organization since you've been using Totara and working with Catalyst.
Great, yeah. So I mean, we've been really pleased with the results. I think I mentioned we've seen like a threefold increase over since we launched in terms of our active engagement. This year, our flagship course, the OMFC, Operational Meteorologist Foundation course, is being delivered fully remotely for the first time. That's a big thing. It's a long form course. It was 20 weeks in the classroom. So obviously you couldn't replace that with 20 weeks of 9 to 5 days a week live sessions like we're doing today. It just wouldn't be fair on anyone involved to be doing that. So there's been some great work. It's enabled us, Totara has enabled us to present that. The exams for that are now fully online as well, which has not just been a time saver in terms of marking the exams, but it's enabled us to move to modular delivery for that course with more regular assessments and examinations at the end of each module, which wouldn't have been possible before because it was a down tools situation to do the classroom-based exams, the paper-based and invigilated exams. We were very happy to achieve 94% compliance with our mandatory training from June this year. That was good for us.
I think you're giving us a run for our money there as well. So yeah, really well done.
Yeah, it's not bad given we got 2,000 staff and everything like that. So yeah, a big part of that was being able to use the certification notifications and actually things like the red, amber, green status, which was a great motivator for people to do that. Yeah, we've had over 34,000 separate course completions by 3,200 users since our launch in 2018. And a good 99.5% of our staff have actively engaged with the learning portal over the last year. In the last 12 months, we're still working on that last 0.5%. Right? Yeah.
There's some quite incredible figures there. So Malcolm is also here in the chat, and he's mentioned that you're looking to push some boundaries next year. So what are some of the upcoming plans you have for the site going into the future?
Great, yeah. One of the things, it's the second on that list actually, that I think Joe was talking about there. Catalyst have literally just released it for us. Some custom work for those who know Totara with the custom reporting that you can do. There's a red, amber, green certification status report, which is brilliant, but previously was not graphable. Catalyst have made it graphable for us, so we can get some really nice red, amber, green section pie charts going on, showing, say, your directorate is 80% green on this piece of training or suite of training, and still has 20% to go in terms of 10 amber, 10 red, that sort of thing. I think we'd be really keen to be push that back out to the community. Might be something that would be included upstream in Totara Core. Don't know. So we're just about to release that for our directorates to give them a bit of a graphical look at how their teams are doing in terms of their training. We're working with Catalyst for some custom site-wide course evaluation, which will use Totara's out-of-the-box feedback activity, but have some custom reporting elements to be able to tie it to which seminar people attended. That's going to be great for us. We are really excited about the Engage and Perform products, which we do not currently make use of. We use Totara Learn. Everything I was showing you there was the Totara Learn product. We have been testing Engage and testing Perform. We're really excited to see what Engage can do for our communities of practice and support our professions. And in terms of Perform, we're really excited about the competency hierarchies and the competency functionality, again, which is going to support our professions and our people framework. We'd really like to get some recommended learning going on with the recommendation engine that comes alongside with Engage and in 14, so that we can start getting a bit more dynamic with our dashboard. So that would be great. And we'd like to explore the Microsoft Teams app we've got a big focus on learning in the flow of work at the moment. And that is going to be really great at surfacing all of the great stuff we've got going on in our Totara while people are having their chat in their meeting or whatever it is in Teams. Potentially, we might be looking at a bit more integration to some of our corporate systems as well, in terms of all of the great data that we record about people's skills and training activity, making that available in systems like we have Microsoft ServiceNow, making it available in there to help with our demand management, talent management, that sort of thing. That's much further on the horizon. But yeah, some exciting stuff, I think, coming up over the next couple of years.
It's great to hear, and also really interesting to know that you'll be using the full TXP suite, the talent experience platform, using Totara Engage and Totara Perform as well. We'd love to see that when it's all up and running. We get a few questions coming in, so feel free if anyone else has any questions to start asking those now as well. Iris, did you have any more questions, or Jerry, did you want to say anything else?
No, I'm very excited to help with the next phase. That's the most sort of that I need to say, I think. And we've been cutting our own teeth because we're using those platforms ourselves as well. So we'll be ready and set to get you up and running, particularly with Perform, which has gone really well for us.
Okay, just a few questions coming in. So for example, the red, amber, green status that you showed on the front page, Brendan, is that something that was made specifically by Catalyst?
Yes and no. There is a red, amber, green status, if I bring that up. There's a report source in the custom reporting functionality in Totara that gives you a red, amber, green status in terms of, are you up to date? Are you expiring soon? Are you expired? That sort of thing. We needed some customization here in terms of the display of that. So Totara out of the box it has a report graph block, which is what we're looking at there. We've got a slightly custom version of that going on to make it look like that, and it's themed as well. We wanted to, because we use a lot of different certifications across our training. Only some of those are considered mandatory training, so we wanted to be able to limit that block just to be showing those. So we worked with Catalyst to that. It wasn't extensive in terms of its customization, but it was more the configurability and the theming of it that Catalyst worked with us on. But you can get similar reports out of the box with Totara, I think.
Great, thanks, Brendan. Just another question coming in. You mentioned before that you have some public courses are available, or courses that are available to the public. Does that mean that you have a sort of change in spike of the user numbers quite a lot? Do you sometimes have many more people logging in, or are your user numbers quite stable?
They're usually quite stable because typically the external training that we deliver are quite small cohorts. The difference would be our UKCP training that's about to launch that I showed. That is going to be available to the wider public. It's difficult for us to gauge how many people we might be looking at there because it's a brand new product. So we're expecting to see a spike in terms of that. Usually we wouldn't, though, because it's more that you would you apply to attend a course or get access to a fully online course through our system. We don't have self-registration switched on the system, so you need to contact us if you need an account if you're an external customer. So that was a decision we made a while back. We used to have a self-registration LMS that was externally available, and we just found we were spending a lot of our time struggling with spam and fake accounts and things like that. So we took the decision back in 2018 to switch off self-registration. So our external use base is fairly consistent, I'd say, as well as our staff.
Brilliant, thanks, Brendan. Just another question coming in, maybe for Jerry. Would you always recommend that Totara is integrated with a HR system, Jerry, or can you create audiences or Active Directory attributes alone?
You can create them entirely manually from the front end. You can even manage them in just a spreadsheet if you really wish to, and you could upload that spreadsheet make changes. Really, and this is there's a lot to talk about in this space, but it's about identifying a single source of truth. Where does that data live? If you're small enough that it can live just in Totara, because Totara is the platform that you're managing your performance management, your user kind of structure, your team structure, if you like, in it, then great. But if you have an HR system, and ideally, if the HR system is clean and well maintained, critical, then there's absolutely no reason why you wouldn't leverage that to build all of your wonderful structure in Totara automatically. And it works really, really well. And there are native integrations, or you can use, somewhat old school CSV sharing and uploading on a periodic manner.
Very good. And maybe another question for Brendan from Jennifer in the audience. What's been the kind of the biggest challenge that you faced on the customer side of the platform?
Biggest challenge we faced in terms of the customer side of the platform, I think. So if I understand the question correctly, in terms of our external users, I would say the biggest problem may well be actually the user account registration, but that was a decision that we made, that we took. It was about really our how we manage our data, and in particular our customer data. We had to be super careful about that, especially with the launch of the GDPR legislation. So it means there's a time lag in terms of getting our external customers onto the system, which isn't great from a customer experience point of view. If I'm honest, and I'm really, I am being honest here, I think once they're in the system, we don't have many problems at all. We get really good feedback from our external customers in terms of the support that they get for their, whether it's fully online course, just a piece of e-learning that they go through completely on their own, or whether it's a course that they're attending in person, even though remotely at the moment. We get really, really good feedback from our external customers on that. That's testament to our training team as much as the system, but the system works really well once they're in there. And like I say, it's just kind of related to our fact that we decided to go with manually getting our customer accounts. Yeah.
Thanks, Brendan. It's been really great to see your system today. Jerry, is there anything else you'd like to add about working with the Met Office or just using this particular site?
Sorry, I've got some children coming up the stairs. I was muted.
That's normal. That's okay.
That time. No, all good. We're really looking forward to the next phase, really. And I think you can all see that what Met Office have built demonstrates how a Totara can be well built, well managed, and well applied. Everything from its look and feel. I'll be honest with you, Brendan. We show your site a lot. We don't log into it because that would be a breach of what we're permitted to do, but just the landing page and just the way in which the team at RN styled it and from that point all the way through the kind of user journey, I think it really does deliver and add value. And so we hope to just continue that, really, particularly bring in Perform and Engage. So yeah, it's been 7 years. May it go for 7 more and beyond. And thanks for taking the time today to show us. It's really good.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry, and thanks, Brendan, so much for giving us a sneak peek into the Met Office. I know that I've spoken to you before as well, and you could talk for a long time, showing us all the different amazing things that are in the site, because there's just so much in there, isn't there? It's a huge opportunity for your learners to keep developing and progressing. So thank you so much for showing us today. Is there any final comments you wanted to ask, Iris?
No, thank you. Thank you so much for showing everything. This is a great kind of demo of your platform. So yeah, appreciate it. And really nice to see all the feedback as well. So thanks.
Great.
Thanks so much, Brendan. Thanks, Jay. And thank you to everyone else. And this webinar, like I say, will be available on the Totara community afterwards. So thank you to everyone who's joined today. And we'll finish there.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.